What if the Gojo clan didn't produce just one monster, but two? What if the strongest sorcerer alive was never meant to stand alone? Today, we're diving into an alternate reality of Jujutsu Kaisen, one where the six eyes weren't the only legendary vision born into the Gojo clan. This is the story of Yuto Gojo, Satoru Gojo's younger brother, the sorcerer cursed with an inferior gift, and the one who inherited the Byakugan. Let's begin. 5 years after the birth of Satoru Gojo, the world had already changed. The six eyes had appeared. Infinity had found its master. The balance of the Jujutsu society tilted permanently. So when the Gojo clan welcomed another child, no one expected destiny to repeat itself. But from the moment Yuto was born, the elders felt something was wrong. This child carried the potential to awaken the six eyes. And that should have been impossible, because fate does not allow two gods. Since Satoru already possessed the six eyes, Yuto's cursed genetics were forced to adapt. Or rather, they broke. When Yuto opened his eyes for the first time, they weren't blue like Satoru's. They were pearly white. They were eyes that could see cursed energy in all directions. No blind spots, no escape. The clan named them the Byakugan. But instead of celebration, there was disappointment. An inferior version of the six eyes. A mutation. A failure. And Yuto grew up hearing those words every single day. The Byakugan granted Yuto 360-degree vision. He could see cursed energy flowing through people like veins beneath their skin. Walls didn't matter. Distance didn't matter. But unlike the six eyes, the Byakugan did not regulate cursed energy. Every second it was active, it drained him. So Yuto learned to force control by increasing blood flow to his eyes. He could sharpen his cursed energy precision, extend his vision, slow the world down. But the cost was brutal. Blinding pain, burst blood vessels, internal damage. While Satoru was praised for existing, Yuto bled just to survive. Satoru Gojo became untouchable. Yuto Gojo became invisible. He watched his brother ascend, watched sorcerers fear and worship him. And everywhere Yuto went, he was compared, not as an equal, but as a reminder of what could have been. So Yuto made a decision. If he couldn't surpass the six eyes, he would outgrow them. Yuto inherited the limitless technique, but unlike Satoru, he couldn't dominate space effortlessly. So he changed the rules. Using the Byakugan's perception, Yuto compressed infinity into microscopic barriers. Barriers applied through touch. This allowed him to fight up close. Where Satoru erased enemies from a distance, Yuto stepped into the reach. Through relentless experimentation, Yuto created a new combat style, the Gentle Fist. Every strike targeted cursed energy pathways. Instead of breaking bones, he shattered circulation. Techniques failed. Sorcerers collapsed. To the naked eye, it looked like martial arts. But to the Byakugan, it was execution. August of 2006 arrived heavy and unmoving. The kind of summer that pressed down on Tokyo until even cursed energy felt sluggish beneath the heat. It was during this suffocating stretch of days that Mei and Utahime were dispatched on what should have been a routine mission. A haunted mansion which is isolated and old, saturated with lingering resentment and warped cursed energy. The report did mention a barrier, unstable and temporal in nature, but nothing either sorcerer hadn't handled before. They were expected back within hours. They didn't return even that night, or even the next. But by the third day, concern turned into certainty. Something was definitely wrong. Tokyo Jujutsu High wasted no time. Two names were written at the top of the retrieval order. Names that carried weight even among sorcerers. Those names being Satoru Gojo and Suguru Geto. Even when they were only second years, they were already considered as monsters. But Satoru had no intention of going alone. When the order came down, he was already standing in the courtyard with his hands shoved casually into his pockets, his sunglasses tilted just enough to show the sharp, brilliant blue of his eyes. Behind him stood Yuto Gojo, 13 years old, white hair pulled back loosely, his pearly eyes hidden beneath his lashes, already active and already seeing. "You're not staying here," Satoru said flatly, as Yuto stiffened. "I didn't say I wanted to," Yuto said. "I'm not leaving you alone with the clan or the elders," Satoru said. And just like that, the mission was set. None of them realized yet that this escort would tear their lives apart. That August would mark the beginning of everything breaking, and that the boy, trying so desperately to act mature, would soon be forced to grow up far too fast. The mansion loomed at the edge of a forest, half swallowed by shadow, its structure bending unnaturally as if reality itself struggled to agree on its shape. Time felt wrong before they even crossed the gate. Seconds stretched, sounds lagged. The air felt thick, resisting every movement. Yuto stopped and crossed his hands. "I'll put up a curtain," he said. Satoru glanced back. "Are you okay? Are you sure you want to do that?" And to that, Yuto nodded. He stepped away from the others, planting his feet firmly into the dirt. His Byakugan flared to life, veins surfacing faintly at his temples, as his vision expanded outward in a perfect spear. Crisp energy patterns bloomed across his sight like fractures in glass. He raised his hands as the curtain descended smoothly, swallowing the mansion whole, dulling the world beyond it. The presence of sorcery vanished from the perception of commoners as if it had never existed. Clean, efficient, and controlled. Inside the veil, Satoru grinned. "Nice work." Then the strongest sorcerers of their generation moved. Suguru's curses flooded the halls, tearing through looping corridors and snapping distorted time back into place. Satoru advanced like an inevitable disaster, smashing through barriers with brute force, space itself buckling under his cursed energy. The mansion screamed as it died, and the walls collapsed and the time recoiled violently. And just like that, it was over. Mimi emerged irritated but unharmed. Utahime followed, furious and exhausted under some rubble. Outside, Yuto lowered the curtain slowly, his breath steady but shallow, and thanks to him, no civilians noticed a thing. They barely made it back to Tokyo Jujutsu High before consequences arrived. Yaka did not raise his voice at first, which made it worse. "Satoru," he said calmly, "explain why he was on that mission." Satoru shrugged. "I didn't want to leave him behind. That wasn't your call." Yuto stepped forward sharply. "He didn't ask me." The room went still. "He forced me to go," Yuto continued, voice tight. "He didn't even tell Geto I would be there." Suguru turned slowly. Yeah, I don't recall you ever mentioning that you would be dragging your 13-year-old brother into a mission without telling me, Suguru snapped. Yuto bristled. Stop talking about me like I'm not here. The tension spiked instantly. Cursed energy crackled, barely restrained. Enough, Yaga barked, slamming his fist into the desk. Focus, as the room quieted. This next mission, Yaga said grimly, comes directly from Master Tengen. Now when Yaga said that, to explain that immediately got their attention. Master Tengen's cursed technique, immortality, was not without consequence. Every 500 years, Tengen's technique attempted to force evolution. To prevent that, a compatible human, known as a star plasma vessel, had to merge with her. If the merger failed, Tengen ascends, Yaga said, and becomes something that may no longer care about humanity. The barrier techniques protecting the Jujutsu world, the very foundation of sorcerer society, depended on Tengen's stability. This mission cannot fail. Satoru leaned back in his chair. So we escort the girl? Yes, Yaga replied. Only the strongest can handle it. Satoru smiled. Then Yuto's coming, right? No, Suguru said immediately. No, Yaga echoed. Yuto frowned. I didn't even say I wanted to come. You're staying behind, Suguru insisted. This is too dangerous for you. Satoru's smile sharpened. I'm not leaving him. Yaga stared at him long and hard. Fine, he said at last, but on one condition. He turned to Satoru. You are responsible for him. Completely. Yuto scowled. That's ridiculous. Satoru laughed. Hear that? I'm your dad now. I am not a child, Yuto retorted. Satoru bent down slightly, flicking Yuto's forehead. You're 13. Yuto clenched his jaw, cheeks flushing with frustration. And just like that, the mission was set. Two groups had already made their move. They just had not realized how late they were. The first were curse users, fractured, reckless and loud. They called themselves Q, assassins who despised the structure of Jujutsu society. They believed tearing it down piece by piece would bring them purpose. Their goal was simple: kill the star plasma vessel before she could ever reach Master Tengen. The second group was quieter, older, far more dangerous. The Star Religious Group, also known as the Time Vessel Association. Worshippers of Master Tengen who believed that allowing a human merger was an impurity. To them, the vessel wasn't sacred. She was a blasphemy that needed to be erased. And both groups were already in motion. Satoru, Suguru, and Yuto arrived too late. The school grounds were already tainted with hostile cursed energy. By the time they sensed it, erratic, panicked, overlapping signatures moving too fast and too sloppily to be professional. Gunfire cracked through the air, shouting followed, a scream cut short. Q, Suguru muttered. They found her first. Before Satoru could move, Yuto did. His Byakugan flared instantly, the world snapping into crystalline clarity. Every cursed flow, every muscle twitch, every breath taken by the attackers laid bare before him. He saw it, the bullet spat, the angle, the moment that it would reach her, the moment that the explosion would... destroyed the building she was in. Yuto moved. He didn't even think. He reacted. He surged forward, cursed energy tightening around his limbs as he twisted his body just enough to shove the girl aside. The shot grazed the air where her head had been a moment prior, shattering a window behind them. The star plasma vessel collapsed to the ground, stunned but alive. For a single second, everything went silent. Then Satoru laughed. Nice instincts. And then, at that moment, Suguru's curses flooded the battlefield in an instant. The Q soldiers never even stood a chance. They were overwhelmed, bodies slammed into concrete, weapons crushed, curses torn apart like paper. Satoru moved through them effortlessly, space bending with every step, turning bullets into meaningless debris. The fight ended almost as soon as it began. Yuto stood over the girl, chest rising and falling, Byakugan still active. "You're safe," he said quickly. "For now at least." She stared up at him wide-eyed. "What the hell? You're younger than me." Yuto winced. "That's not important. And it's only by a year." The girl's name was Riko Amanai, and the woman clutching her protectively was Misato Kuroi, her caretaker, her family, the only constant in her life. Riko and Kuroi were moved immediately. Satoru insisted on escorting them personally. Suguru handled rear surveillance while Yuto kept his Byakugan active almost constantly, mapping threats far beyond normal perception. They expected resistance, but none came. Well, at least not yet. The orders from Master Tengen arrived soon after. Riko could not be brought directly to Tokyo Jujutsu High. She needed time. Time to live. Time to laugh. And time to say goodbye to a life she hadn't chosen to give up. She's supposed to enjoy her final days, Satoru explained casually. Riko brightened instantly. "So I can go back to school?" "Yes," Gojo replied. Yuto stiffened. "Absolutely not." Everyone turned to him. "That's reckless," Yuto snapped. "Public spaces increase assassination vectors by..." But at that moment, he got cut off. "Hey," Riko cut in. "You don't get to decide that." "I'm trying to keep you alive," Yuto argued. "I didn't ask you to," Riko responded. Their voices overlapped, rising quickly. "You can't just pretend nothing is happening," Yuto explained. "And you can't just lock me away like I'm already dead," Riko shouted back. Yuto clenched his fist, jaw tight. "This mission isn't about what you want." Riko stepped closer, glaring up at him. "Then stop acting like you know what I should do with my life." At that point, silence followed. Satoru watched, amused but thoughtful. Meanwhile, Suguru studied Yuto carefully. Yuto exhaled sharply, then looked away. "Fine," he muttered, "but I'm watching you," Riko smirked. "That's creepy." "I heard that," Yuto replied. While Riko returned to school, laughing, arguing, while dragging Yuto into situations he clearly didn't want to be in. In the shadows, another plan was unfolding, far from them, far above them. The Time Vessel Association had made their decision. They would not rely on amateurs. They hired a professional, the man known as Toji Fushiguro, or Toji Zenin, the sorcerer killer. A man with no cursed energy and no fear of sorcerers. He cost 30 million yen. That was the price on Riko Amane's life. Toji accepted without hesitation. But he didn't plan to confront Satoru Gojo head-on. At least not yet. Instead, he posted her photograph to a dark network used by cursed sorcerers, a bounty listing, clear and unmistakable. 30 million yen, alive or dead. It was a trap. A trap that was meant to exhaust the vessel's escorts through endless waves of disposable attackers. Free labor, free reconnaissance. None of them could beat Gojo or Geto, but they didn't really have to. They only needed to slow them down. Toji leaned back, confident, but there was only one miscalculation. He had not accounted for the boy with the pearly eyes. But even that wouldn't matter. After all, no one stays sharp forever, and everyone bleeds eventually. Riko Amane's school looked exactly the way it was supposed to. But that was exactly the problem. Sunlight spilled across the courtyard. Laughter echoed between buildings. Students clustered in groups, arguing about homework, complaining about teachers, and planning weekend hangouts. Life moved forward, ignorant and unstoppable. Yuto hated it. He stood near the school gate, posture rigid, senses flared wide open. His Byakugan remained active beneath lowered lashes, mapping cursed energy in a perfect spear that extended far beyond the campus. There were no anomalies, no hostile signatures, but even so, that didn't make him relax. "Do you have to stand like that?" Riko asked, slinging her bag over her shoulder as she stopped in front of him. "You look like a bodyguard from a bad movie." "I am a bodyguard," Yuto replied flatly. "You're 13. "That doesn't matter," Yuto replied. She cut him off with a grin. "You're sulking again." "I am not sulking. You absolutely are." They walked through the halls together. Riko moved like she owned the place, calling out to friends, laughing too loud, stopping every few steps to chat. Yuto followed half a step behind, eyes constantly moving, cursed energy pulsing faintly as he tracked everything and everyone around them. Whispers among Riko's classmates started quickly. "Hey, who's that? He's cute. Is that her boyfriend?" Yuto heard all of it. He stopped walking. "Boyfriend?" he muttered. Riko froze, then slowly turned back towards him, her eyes sparkling with mischievous intent. "Oh," she said sweetly. "Is that what they think?" "That is not what this is," Yuta said sharply. "You should correct them." Riko tilted her head. "Why?" "Because it's inaccurate," Yuta replied. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Or maybe it keeps people from bothering me. But that's..." Before he could even react, she looped her arms through his. Yuto short-circuited. His Byakugan flickered. His ears burned. Several students gasped audibly. "There," Riko said cheerfully. "Problem solved." Yuto stiffened, mind racing through 1,000 scenarios. none of which involved this. Hey, you can't just, he hissed, but Rico didn't care. Let go. But Rico did not let go. You're one, she added. Yuto looked like he was about to implode. From the rooftop across the street, a pair of cursed users watched. Is that the target? It's one of them. Which one's the vessel? The arm-linking girl laughed loudly, while the boy beside her scanned the surroundings with an unnerving precision. I'm not sure. After that, the first attack came that afternoon. A cursed user attempted to approach Rico under the guise of a classmate's older brother. Yuto noticed the cursed residue immediately, thin, deliberate, hidden beneath layers of normalcy. He intercepted without hesitation, a palm strike, a precise flow of cursed energy. The man collapsed before he could even scream. Rico stared blankly. Okay, she said slowly. That was kinda cool. Yuto exhaled. You were in danger. She looked at him unusually quiet. You don't have to glare at the world so hard. He didn't answer, but stayed quiet. By evening, the rumors had already spread. Teachers whispered and students stared. Someone outright asked Rico if Yuto was her boyfriend. She laughed and said, maybe. Yuto nearly choked. That was not a denial, he hissed once they were alone. You should have seen your face. This is not funny, she shrugged. You're always so serious. Someone's gotta mess with you. She paused, then added more softly. And you don't look so lonely when they think that. When Rico said that, Yuto froze. I'm not lonely, he said. Rico smiled. Sure. That night, as they walked home, Yuto sensed it. There was a pressure, a killing intent of sorts. There were eyes watching from beyond his Byakugan's range, careful, disciplined, and patient. Yuto slowed down, which Rico noticed immediately. Hey, what is it? We're being observed, he said quietly. She swallowed. By who? Yuto clenched his fists. I don't know, he admitted. Far away, unseen and unbothered, Toji Fushiguro lowered his binoculars. So that's the extra variable, he muttered. A kid with sharp eyes and protective instincts. Toji smiled faintly. It didn't matter, since kids grew tired faster than monsters. The bounty was working. By the next morning, the air around Rico Amanai felt heavier, thicker with intent. Curse users no longer watched from a distance. They moved closer, bolder, and more desperate. The two of them arrived just after classes began. One was an older gentleman in a neat coat, posture calm, cursed energy flowing with unsettling precision. The other was a towering mass of muscle, shoulders straining beneath his shirt, a crude paper bag mask tied over his head, eye holes cut out unevenly, smile drawn on in black ink. They didn't bother hiding anymore. They walked straight onto school grounds. That was their mistake. Yuto felt them the instant they crossed the perimeter. His Byakugan snapped open violently, vision expanding, his veins standing out sharply at his temples as the world fractured into curse flow and intent. Two hostile signatures, one refined and one overwhelmingly aggressive. Too strong for civilians. Yuto's breath hitched. They're here, he muttered. Misato felt it too, years of instinct kicking in like a mother. "Riko is in class," she said. But when she turned, Yuta was already moving. The classroom buzzed with ordinary noise. Chalk against board, students whispering, sunlight slanting lazily through open windows. Riko Amanai sat at her desk, bored out of her mind. Then at that moment, the door slammed open, and every head turned. Over there was Yuto, standing in the doorway, chest rising sharply, white hair slightly disheveled, eyes blazing with urgency. "Riko," he said, loud, sharp, and breathless. "Come with me, now." The room froze. Riko blinked. "Huh?" Yuto strode forward, grabbed her wrist without hesitation, cursed energy flaring instinctively as his senses screamed danger. "You're not safe here," he said. "We have to leave." At that point, the teacher sputtered, "Young man, you can't just come in here and do whatever you want." Yuto didn't even look at them. "Sorry," he said automatically, already pulling Riko toward the door. "This is an emergency." From the outside, it looked exactly like a dramatic confession. A handsome white-haired boy bursting into class, grabbing the girl everyone whispered about, dragging her out like the world was ending. Gus erupted. "Oh my god, is that her boyfriend? That's so romantic, yeah!" Something like that. Riko, mid-stride, finally realized what this looked like. Her eyes widened, and then she smiled. "Oh?" she said loudly. "Taking me away in front of everyone now?" "That's not what this is," Yuto hissed. "Focus." She laughed, completely unbothered. "You didn't even say you liked me first." "That's not what this is." Misato intercepted them at the end of the hall, already ushering them toward the exit. "Nice timing," she muttered. Yuto didn't respond. His attention snapped outward again. The older curse user had stopped moving. The man with the paper bag tilted his head. They had noticed. Elsewhere on campus, however, Satoru and Suguru felt it too. "Two of them," Suguru said calmly. Satoru cracked his neck. "Guess the bounty hunters are getting bolder." They vanished in a blur. The older gentleman smiled politely as Satoru appeared in front of him. "Ah," the man said. "Gojo Satoru." "Wow," Satoru replied. "You look way underqualified." The man's curse technique activated and failed instantly. Suguru's curses warmed the second attacker, the masked brute roaring as he charged forward with brute force alone. He never landed a hit. The fight was brutally one-sided, efficient, and almost boring. Outside the school grounds, Yuto finally stopped, pulling Riko behind him as his Byakugan scanned every angle. "Are you okay?" he asked, breath tight. Riko nodded, then burst out laughing. "You should have seen their faces," she said. "They totally think you're in love with me." Yuto groaned. "This is a nightmare." Misato smiled faintly despite herself. Behind them, curse energy dissipated, the signal that Satoru and Suguru were done. The immediate danger passed, but the message was clear. The attacks weren't stopping, and somewhere far away, watching through borrowed eyes and gathered reports, Toji Fushiguro adjusted his plans. The kid wasn't just extra baggage. He was a problem that needed to be solved, a problem he needed to get rid of. It was Satoru Gojo that noticed first. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't the way Yuto stopped arguing. The way his Byakugan stayed active longer than it needed to. The way he positioned himself between Rico and the world without thinking. Without hesitation. Without rest. "You're burning yourself out," Satoru said one evening. Voice as casual as ever, but eyes sharp. Yuto didn't look at him. "I'm fine. Besides, you're doing the same thing." That answer alone told Satoru everything. The bounty attacks had slowed but not stopped. Curse users came in ones and twos now, less reckless, more probing. They tested weaknesses, timing, and endurance. None of them got close to Rico, but each fight took something out of Yuto. Sleep became optional. Relaxation became impossible. Fear, carefully hidden, settled deep in his chest. Rico noticed. She always did. They were alone on the rooftop when she finally confronted him. "You're scared," she said suddenly, which Yuto stiffened. "I'm not." She turned to face him, eyes sharp. "You don't laugh anymore." "That's irrelevant," he said. "You shake when you think I don't notice." When she said that, a silence followed. Yuto's hands curled into fists. "If I mess up," he said quietly, "you'll die." Rico's expression softened. She stepped closer. "You're only 13. That made something crack. "I don't get to be," he snapped. "Not here." She reached out, hesitating, then rested her hand over his clenched fist. "You don't have to carry this alone," she said gently. Yuto swallowed hard. "I don't know how not to." Then the next blow came fast. Way too fast. Misato Kuroi disappeared overnight. She got kidnapped. The Time Vessel Association finally made their move, sprinting her way to Okinawa, hoping distance and desperation would break the escort's formation. Instead, it unified them. Satoru smiled the entire flight. Suguru said nothing. Yuto sat rigid, eyes burning with quiet resolve. Meanwhile, Riko clutched her seatbelt and tried not to cry. Naha was chaos. The rescue was swift and brutal. Satoru erased obstacles with lazy precision. Suguru flooded corridors with curses, while Yuto moved like a shadow, striking, disabling, and intercepting anything that came too close to Riko. Kuroi was found alive, shaken, bruised, but alive. And for the first time in days, they breathed a sigh of relief. Okinawa became a lie they desperately wanted to believe. The beach was warm, the sea was endless, and the sun was forgiving. Riko laughed freely, dragging Yuto into the water despite his protests. Satoru buried Suguru in sand. Kuroi smiled more than she had in years. For a moment, they were just people. Not vessels, not weapons, and not failures. Yuto watched Riko laugh and felt something terrifying bloom in his chest. Hope. When they returned to Tokyo Jujutsu High, the barrier rose smoothly around them. They were finally safe. The mission was finished. Satoru stretched slightly. "Well, that's that." Yuto exhaled. His Byakugan dimmed. The tension bled from his shoulders. For the first time since August began, Yuto and Satoru let their guard down. Then, all of a sudden, a blade entered Satoru's back without warning. Blood sprayed everywhere. Time froze, and Yuto screamed, "Satoru!" Toji Senin stood behind him, calm, precise, already withdrawing the knife. Shock rippled through the group. Satoru turned, smiling, bleeding and furious. "Oh," he said lightly, "so you're the one." He raised his cursed energy, and it vanished. The inverted spear of heaven pierced through limitless, nullifying it completely. Toji moved, and Satoru fell. He fell down hard. Suguru reacted instantly, pulling Riko and Yuto back. "Go!" he shouted. Yuto didn't think. He simply ran away with Riko. They were almost there. Yuto stopped suddenly, turning to Riko. "You don't have to do this," he said with his voice breaking. "You can live." She stared at him, then smiled through tears. "I want to," she said, "because of you." But then at that moment, the gunshot echoed, and Riko collapsed. Yuto caught her. No. Blood soaked his arms and his vision blurred. "Please don't," he whispered. "Please." He ran, princess style, carrying her, close and activating Lap's blue, space staring forward as he fled blindly, desperately getting away from death. Behind him, Suguru roared as he engaged Toji. "Run as far away from here, Yuto!" Geto shouted. Yuto collapsed behind cover, cradling Riko's limp body. She wasn't breathing. "No," he sobbed. "I won't let it end like this." Cursed energy surged, wild, uncontrolled. And then, something snapped into place. Yuto pressed his shaking hands against her chest. "I don't care what it costs," he said. Reverse curse technique ignited in that moment. Light bloomed, and blood reversed, and the heartbeat returned. Riko gasped. Yuto broke down completely, sobbing as he held her, shaking alive. She was alive, but the world around them was already falling apart, and nothing would ever be the same again. And just like that, Geto got a taste of defeat from Toji, like in canon, and Satoru came back from the brink of death and killed Toji. And in the end, Satoru adopted Megumi along with Riko. The higher-ups couldn't do anything since Satoru became stronger from learning reverse curse technique and learning Hollow Purple. So that's it for now, guys. If you enjoyed the video of what if the Byakugan was in Jujutsu Kaisen, consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. It would really help me out a lot and shows that you wanna see more videos just like this one. For now, that's it. Thanks for watching and see you on the next episode of What If the Byakugan was in